Hello and welcome to this CGTN live broadcast. We're live in Shanghai, and what you saw just now was the China Pavilion of the 2010 World Expo. And we are now at the Pudong area right now, where a lot of major international events and entertainment events were held in the past several years. For example, the Victoria's Secret fashion show, some of the Ultimate Fighting Champion fights, a lot of international events and especially sports events are coming to China. And we are today here to witness one of them. Now, today is a great day, very sunny here, not very hot, not too cold. We've had a little bit of rain yesterday, but now the weather is actually very, very good for a sporting event. So what am I talking about? Now, this is where the second annual Shanghai Tour de France competitions will kick off. Now, just to be clear, this is not the original Tour de France match, the one in Paris that people are familiar with. Now, however, the matches here today are hosted by the same organizer, which will also be joined by some of the top cycling teams that are household names of the biking community. And many of those team members right now are on the stage behind me, getting ready for the event. And in a second, they will be gathered at the starting line for the match. Now, behind me is the starting line. We've got media professionals gathering to cover that event. On the opposite side of the camera are rows and rows of audiences to witness some of their favorite bicycle cyclists to cross the finishing line. Obviously, this is an event that has garnered a lot of traction. After all, Tour de France is one of the biggest names in sports, and of course the biggest name in the bicycle sports arena. I think they're having some interviews with relative authorities that helped organize the event as the bikers are getting ready. We've got 7 international and global biking teams, one of the 7 of the top actually biking teams in the world, and they will be racing side by side with 5 Chinese teams, and they will be starting right behind me at the starting line. Right, we're still waiting for the athletes to gather at the starting line. Anyway, we are going to find many star cycling athletes here today, and I will introduce who they are in a minute. And the organizers said they are hoping that the matches here today can provide biking enthusiasts in Shanghai with a Tour de France experience. Although this is not the authentic Tour de France in Paris, they are keen on bringing that culture and bringing that experience to other parts of the world, and especially in China, where biking has always been a big part of the everyday experience of Chinese citizens. Now, if we see over there, we are seeing the professional bikers have already gathered at the starting line. The press are taking photos in front of them. So we've got a lot of channels have live coverage of the event. We've got drones flying above us. We've got huge cameras for a lot of slow motion shots. You see the bikers have gathered, and they seem to be ready. A lot of the star athletes have arrived Shanghai yesterday morning, and they attended some activities held by the organizers. One of them was to visit a sporting school in Shanghai, where one of China's world champion bikers were trained back in the day. The three of the star trainers are still at the school, so very professional and friendly conversations were held between these Tour de France bikers from Europe with a lot of the biking professionals and trainers in China. Right, they are getting ready. I hope they are not too jet-lagged for this event, because many of them have just arrived in the morning of yesterday and the day before yesterday, so they've yet to have a chance to adjust their jet lag, get accustomed to their jet lag. So I hope they perform well this morning. So we've arrived here very early in the morning to wait for this event to start, because the roads have been sealed off in this area. No other cars could get in. We need to get on the bus provided by the organizer to be here. So this sort of event need to be organized very early in the morning, so as not to disturb normal citizens' business going about their business in the morning, because after all, this is the Lujiazui district of Shanghai. It is one of the busiest districts in China. A lot of financial institutions and multinational companies have headquarters here. So about 300,000 Shanghai citizens, residents pass through the Lujiazui subway station every day. So just a taste of how busy this area is. So the roads are temporarily sealed off for this 6-kilometer race. It is actually a circle. The race is actually a circle that bikers need to go round, which is about 6 kilometers long. Now the match is about to start in about 10 minutes. We are waiting for the exciting moment. So the organizer is interviewing one of the biggest celebrities in China, called Geraint Thomas. He's been chosen as the spokesperson for this event in the past 2 years. Now, last year was the first year that Tour de France has held an event like this in Shanghai. And they've also invited the same celebrity, who's apparently a TV star, a movie star, a singer, which has a very big fan base. Okay, the event has started now. You can see the bikers. Okay, this should be interesting. In a moment, we will see bikers going back to this starting lines after they finish their 6 kilometers circle, and they will circle for around 30 times for this match. We will wait for them to circle back here. And we've got another camera angle, which will show you some of the audience reactions, reactions of the spectators here, and also have some live shots of some aerial shots of the cycling athletes passing by. Now, using the name of Tour de France to organize this event here is a smart move as a commercial event, because Tour de France is a 115-year franchise with its popularity on par with events like the Soccer World Cup and the Olympics. Now, each year it attracts roughly 3.5 billion people watching on TV. The organizer is confident that will make this event popular in China by using that name. Now, some more background to the race we are witnessing. This is what the organizer calls the criterium. It is a race in the most developed area of Shanghai. It is a 1.5 to 2-hour race that involves 7 top cycling teams from Tour de France. Now there is a team called AG2R, which is a strong team. It has Romain Bardet, who won 3rd place in the 2017 Tour de France and 2nd place in 2016. The team also has Pierre Latour, who won the white jersey in 2018, the best young athletes. For those who are not familiar, the Tour de France white jersey is awarded to the best young cyclists under 25 years old every year. So apparently I've missed my chance. I'm 5 years older than that threshold. Now we also have the Astana Pro team. Now this team has won Tour de France champions 2 times before. It was home to legendary rider Alberto Contador, who is now retired and who had his very last professional match at this very event in Shanghai last year. Now the next team is Bora Hansgrohe from Germany. Its star rider is Peter Sagan, who won his 6th green jersey in July this year. Now the green jersey, or commonly known as the sprinter's jersey, is won by the rider who accumulates the most points in the race. Now, points for the green jersey can be won at intermediate sprints during stages, but most are won at the stage finish line for the top 10 to 25 riders in each stage. I think they're clearing the fields. I think the first batch of riders are ready to circle back. We hear cheering. Now, if you see the man over there with that red costume, devil costume, he is the official mascot of the Tour de France. So if you're wondering why there is a man wearing a red devil Halloween costume, there's your answer. Right, the first batch of athletes passing by. Right. As I said, that's why it's called the sprinter's jersey. It is just a document of how fast, a proof of how fast the athlete is at the finishing line. Now next, let me continue to introduce the teams to you. Next, we have the Bahrain Merida Pro Cycling Team, which is represented here today by Wang Meiyin, a biker from the Chinese mainland, who is considered one of the best road cyclists from China, as well as from Chengxi, a pro cyclist from Taiwan. Now, both men have won multiple regional and international cycling awards. It's good to have some Chinese face at a pro cycling team, and one of the major pro cycling teams in the world. The Bahrain Merida Pro team has been going up pretty fast since its establishment in the past 2 years. It's good to have some Chinese faces in the international professional matches. Now up next, we've got the Mitchelton Scott team from Australia. It is also a pretty strong team. Now, member Matteo Treighton and Matthew Heyman are both winners of major cycling competitions in Europe. As I said, it is a fine day here today. We've got a lot of spectators lining up across the street to cheer for their favorite athletes. We've got drones passing by above our heads for some aerial shots. This is the organizer said the production level, the organization level of this match is on par with the original Tour de France in Paris, and they're bringing part of that experience here for Chinese biking enthusiasts. Now we've also got Team Katusha Alpecin, a team that has achieved 230 champion wins since it was established in 2008. Now I think the bikers are cycling back again. Now, as I said, the star cycler of the team, Marcel Kittel, was also here last year. I think they're back for another round. I don't know if you could feel the speed of the people passing by. It's hard to keep up with, it's hard to imagine how much strength and endurance you need to have to keep up with that speed for such a long time. So I think that's part of the reason why people call the top athletes in the Tour de France match human engines, because think about it. Your muscles are working as an engine for this giant man-powered vehicle that travels at such high velocity that you can practically be on a highway. Anyway, we've got one last team I need to introduce. That is Team Sky from England. They have a reputation of being one of the most lavish teams in terms of their equipment and also team members' salary. But that has paid off for the most part. The team has won 6 Tour de France championships since it was established in 2009. And it is home to Geraint Thomas, the winner of the 2018 Tour de France, who is here today, by the way. So as you can see, many big names have gathered. We've yet to see whether they will bring their A game to this match, because a lot of these people are jet-lagged after all. But the fact that they're riding here today is sure enough to get many cycling enthusiasts and many spectators here at the scene or over the internet watching the event very excited this Saturday morning. So as we can see, several rounds into the match, the cyclists have broken down into several factions. We've got the leading factions, followed by the majority of other bikers. And leading the pack actually is a very difficult job to have, because you are tasked with the mission to, using the jargon, break the wind, because the wind resistant would be the strongest for the people in the front. So leading the pack is actually twice as hard. I don't know if it is exactly twice as hard, but it's a figure of speech. Much more difficult than following behind and finding opportunity to get ahead later in the match. So a lot of tactics and skills goes into this seemingly simple sport of cycling and paddling forward. A lot of teamwork also goes into it. Now, prior to the criterium match, the organizers have also launched a separate race earlier this morning, called La Tape. That is for amateur enthusiasts. So more citizens can be involved in this event. You see the pro cyclists riding by. Now, after some 2,000 amateur competitors complete their 22-kilometer race, they get to watch the pro teams ride and see their favorite athletes right now. And a lot of them have joined the spectators on both sides of the road. So we've seen a lot of people wearing very professional gear walking by.现在就在这里，对对对，我们现在正在直播。等会儿让他过来就可以。对，那我们随时都可以。对对对对。We are about to invite the managing director of activation, one of the major organizers of this event, to join us for a live interview right here about the organizations today. Okay, we are now joined by Steve Lau, the managing director of activation. Nice to meet you. It's a great day today. It's a great event we're having today. So can you talk about, I think this is the third time I've interviewed you. The first time was the press conference announcing the entry of Tour de France in Shanghai. The second was at this very place last year, the first event. So this year is the second event. Can you talk about how the event has grown in the past 2 years?
I think in several ways. First of all, in terms of the scale of the event, we basically blocked 21.8 in terms of kilometer. This is much larger than what we have last year. And in terms of top rider who come, we have like 57 top rider, 7 teams from all around the world, winner of the Tour de France come. So that would be from a scale perspective. And the participation perspective, we have the carnival. We can invite more people to come to experience what Tour de France people would be before they join the match. So from this kind of dimension, it's actually growing a lot. And particularly, we also have the Tour de France La Tape. We move it to Beijing this year. We just finished Beijing station in September. So that will be something we achieved over the 2 years. But still, we are looking forward more involvement or even more city moving forward.
So one of the big trends we've seen this year, there are a lot more star athletes here today compared to last year. It's a good thing that they're recognizing this pro match in Shanghai, in China. Was it difficult to get all of these star athletes gathered here?
Yeah, in the first time it was very difficult to persuade them to come. I think after the success in 2017, so they can enjoy, they really know, hey, this is a very good stop, they should come and compete. So that's why this year is actually a lot of top players come. And I'm looking for the next year, it will be even better.
So I know there are a lot of some official recognition and authorization from the UCI, the World Authority on Biking. So can you talk about the support from these official groups?
The support of UCI is very important. I think that become a recognized matches for the entire worldwide cycling. So UCI support us a lot. And in terms of the Sport Bureau in Shanghai, they support us a lot as well. So with these two organizations together, we help us a lot in terms of rolling out the the entire criterium in China.
So a lot of people have this question now, how do we make up this match? Now, what does it mean to be recognized by the UCI for a pro match?
They have a criterium. Criterium is actually not only in China, but also 4-stop in terms of the worldwide. So that becomes a score they can get in terms of the entire system. So that will be the matches that we have for China.
Thank you. So in the past few years, what experience have you learned as you organize, as things come up, as things change, as you're organizing, what experience did you gather and what things did you learn from in the past 2 years?
I think the first would be the trust both from the rider perspective and from the government perspective, because bringing into blocking the road for Shanghai, Pudong, it will be extremely difficult. When we have a success in 2017, they learn, they can trust us, so that's why we can extend a little bit in terms of the route. So that will be from a government perspective. As from the rider perspective, we just mentioned, after they have a good experience for coming to Shanghai in the first stop, they will coming in more in terms of 2018. So that will be the trust perspective we learn. And from the rider perspective or the lover friends perspective, if they come here to experience, it will be very different from what you see on TV. In the Tour de France, you probably can only watch the TV, but if you come to experience, Peter Sager have a photo with you just beside you, that experience will be completely different. I think that can attract even more friends to join the riding in terms of a support.
And also we've seen a lot of big company names as sponsors at this event. So I would guess a lot of these people at these companies would be your target customers and the target people that are interested in Tour de France and biking in general. Can you talk about who your target audience is and even people who join the matches are?
Yeah. The success of the match is actually fully rely on the sponsor as one of the key factors. For cycling, it's actually target more like a middle class age in terms of the fans, because of the equipment we need, the training they need, they will be more like a middle class. It's actually matching or executive. This is actually matching with all the sponsors, say Scooter, Dell, PICC. They all target the executive level or middle level in terms of the target. So that's the match, and that's why we can have the support from all the sponsors.
So last year was the first year. Can you talk about overall how last year did, the reception or probably the number of spectators who watched here and online? So can you give us a sense of just what the scale might be this year?
Okay. Last year, the total audience for the entire La Tape and Criterium, we have roughly 300,000. People who experience that. We have 150 media who have been broadcasting the entire event. Last year, we have about 2,000 people who have joined the La Tape in Shanghai as a Pudong. So that will be the key factor that we attract. So we expect much more this year, not only from media coverage perspective, but also for the rider who come to experience. So that's we have a high expectation for the result coming out this year.
And final question, what should we expect, or what new things should we expect to see in the years to come, or for example next year?
Okay, we are expecting to roll out more cities in terms of the tech. As I mentioned, we roll out Beijing. We expect to roll out 2 to 3 more cities moving forward in next year. And also we're expecting to include more in terms of the top rider to come. So we're negotiating with ASO, the team, to attract more rider. And with all this support, we hope we can actually get more support from the Shanghai government, so that the road we block, the length that we have, the friends to come can be even more. So that will be the expectation we roll out.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the interview. We hope you had a successful race. That was Steve Lau, the Managing Director of Activation, one of the organizers of this event. So he was talking about expanding the La Tape match. That was the amateur match that I talked to you about. They're having this match in not only Shanghai but also Beijing and Wuhan, 2 major populous cities in China. So the winner of these La Tape matches get to also go to France for one of their final matches there. As I said, many of the spectators here have finished La Tape earlier this morning. Last year, the organizers said 50,000 people came to watch the event on both sides of the track, cheering for their favorite athletes. And as you probably heard as part of that interview, major cycling events in China are now being recognized by international authorities. Now, this event, for example, is jointly hosted by the Chinese Cycling Association and the Shanghai Municipal Sports Bureau. Now, unlike last year, this event is registered at the Union Cycliste Internationale, which is the international authority of cycling matches. So as you heard, the significance of it being recognized by the UCI is that the scores here will be a part of the final score system. So as we can see, the bikers have been broken into even smaller factions. I think the race have entered its second half, where bikers need to really show their perseverance and skill to get ahead or to stay ahead. Now, Tour de France is now only holding 2 criterium matches, which is the match right now among professional bikers outside of France. One is in Shanghai, right here, right now, and the other is in Saitama, Japan, which is a town north of Tokyo. The Tour de France has now become a culture icon of France, and the organizer also hope the athlete can have a chance to appreciate the beauty of Shanghai as they ride on the 3-kilometer long track in the heart of the city's financial and commercial district. Among all the high-rises, the second tallest building in the world, which is not far away from us, and the 2010 World Expo Pavilion, as you just saw at the beginning of this live coverage. Now, if you are a cycling enthusiast, if you want to try professional biking, or at least if you want to go in that direction, the amateur race this morning called La Tape has a much longer history than Criterium, and a much more mature also. It was started in 1993 and has races in 14 countries as opposed to 2 countries for Criterium. A group of winners from these La Tape races will join a final race every July in Paris, and they will be racing on the real Tour de France track. And so if you're a biking enthusiast, you might want to look into it. We're seeing the cyclists doing their best on the road. Now, the passion for biking has been a growing trend in China. And China has long been a country on bikes. It is estimated that there are over 500 million bikes in China, and 75 million Chinese people are active riders by 2015. Now that is compared to 15 million in 2011. Now in the latter half of the 20th century, a massive number of Chinese people in cities and towns in China own bikes of their own. But they're not professional bikes, they're not sport bikes, they're just regular bikes made out of steel. And for a while, bikes were considered wealth symbols for a better part of the recent contemporary Chinese history. But mostly, people use bikes as a practical means of transportation, since motor vehicles have been difficult to afford for many normal Chinese families. And today, the situations have changed. A lot of more families are beginning to afford cars, and less people are riding bikes, or at least owning bikes. But today, biking is facing a resurgence in China because a lot of Chinese people actually have learned how to ride, at least when they were young. And if you come to China, at least in the big cities, you can see a lot of orange colors or yellow colored bikes on the side of the road. These are actually bikes provided by several private companies for rent. You can use your cell phone to download an app, and they can swipe, scan a QR code on the bike, and you're free, and you're able to use it for a day for a very cheap price. So that has made a lot of Chinese people's lives much more convenient. So bike renting or bike sharing has been very popular in China in the past several years. So well, not the sport, but the activity of biking has been seeing a resurgence for sure in the past several years. Now, but today people are riding for much different reasons, at least for many in first-tier cities. They're treating this as a serious sport, and that's where the Tour de France match come in. Because a lot of these people, as you have heard from Steve Lau, the managing director of Activation, who said their target customers are middle class, because these are the people that are spending relatively big money on professional bikes made out of aluminum or even carbon fiber. Now, don't get me wrong, these bikes are very, very expensive. So a lot of people have the impressions that bikes are cheap. Bikes are not as expensive as cars. But as a matter of fact, a lot of professional bikes, if you want to get good, are very expensive. They should have carbon fiber body, a lot of precision parts on all areas of the bike, and one top professional bikes can easily cost you tens of thousands of US dollars or even 100,000 US dollars or above. So a lot of people who could afford these things are middle class people, or even above that. A lot of the senior executives at the companies, many of them are sponsors here today. Many of them are active riders. For example, just this month, I went to cover the China International Import Expo, and at the Import Expo, I interviewed one of the top executives, who is the chief technology officer of Nokia Shanghai Bell, who is a Chinese gentleman, and he told me that one of his biggest hobbies and enthusiasm in his everyday life has been biking, and him and his biking buddies have formed a biking interest group that hold regular biking events at different parts of China. So they pick a scenic spot in China, they take their professional bikes, and they just race around, for example, the Qiandao Lake, for example, along the bund, along the river area of Shanghai. So the scenic spots are using their professional bikes, which are very expensive. So he told me that his bikes was actually more expensive than some BMW series. So this professional bike riding has been it's just a part of that health craze and healthy lifestyle craze that swept first-tier cities in recent years. Now, data shows that the number of professional biking clubs in China, like the one that CTO gentleman was a part of, is growing by 41% annually. Now, biking as a sport is becoming bigger in this biking kingdom in the world, but for very different reasons than before. Now, an estimated 10 million people enjoy biking as a sport in China, and the number is growing by 30% year on year. Now, some 300 biking matches are held in China every year, and this Tour de France match criterion is just one of these matches. We've seen riders passing sporadically. That means they are broken down into even smaller factions. So that means some are noticeably faster than others right here at this match. As I said, professional biking, or biking as a sport, is now a multi-billion-dollar industry in China. And that's why big names like Tour de France are seeing big business opportunities in this country by bringing their matches here. And Shanghai is the perfect place for events like this. We've seen international events with similar caliber happening last year, like the Victoria's Secret Fashion Show, some Ultimate Fighting Championship matches, both in Pudong District right here, by the way. Now, these events are strong indicators of just how big the consumer base in China is and how willing they will pay for their hobbies. These are the people who are interested in these Western global events and those who are willing to pay big money to follow them as a passion. Now, this claim is actually supported by data. According to the research by the organizer, they have come up with their own user portrait. Wait a minute, we've seen this faction who's riding very fast. They're using, I think they're bringing their A games here. Anyway, the organizer have come up with their own user portrait, which is that they think it should be the group of people that pay for their products and services. And they want to target mostly people from 21 to 30 years old. We've seen the biggest faction, the majority of bikers who've just passed by. Anyway, their target users from 21 to 30 years old, and the young, which is the young and the working. Most of them are at least college graduates, and the estimated income for 65% of them are over 8,000 yuan a month, which is more than $1,000. And what's more, they estimated, get this, that 21% of their customer base should have a monthly income of more than 20,000 yuan. That's senior executive level, which is about $2,500. So as you can see, while China has a long history of biking, the meaning of it has changed dramatically over the years. It's not so much a very democratic activity to have. It's taken sort of an elitist tone right now because a lot of the equipments are expensive. This lifestyle is expensive to keep up. So that's why it attracts the sponsors are companies, or big companies like Dell, and also PICC here, and also Skoda, which is one of the main sponsors of the event. Many of those executives are cycling enthusiasts. This is very common across multinational corporations in China. And people are interested in that healthy lifestyle. And these are the people that fit the demographics of the organizer for this event. So anyway, we've passed half of the match. We've still got the other half of the event. The organizer is broadcasting the event on their media sponsors. If you go on Chinese internet, if you search Tour de France Shanghai, you should be able to get a live feed from the organizer right now. Right, let's wait for the majority faction, who I think will come by pretty soon. If you see over there, that people wearing that red costume is the official mascot of the Tour de France match. It's a fine day here today. Yesterday we saw some rain. We were worried that this match wouldn't go on as scheduled. But it turns out that was needless worrying. And you can see the spectators over there at the stand cheering for their favorite athletes. Now this is the majority faction, I think. So that was another faction that passed by. Okay, now this is the majority faction. So I hope today you get a taste of what Tour de France Shanghai competition is like. If you're interested, go on to search for their live feed over the internet. And that concludes my live broadcast here today. I hope you have a little bit of background knowledge to Tour de France and also China as a big biking country and how biking has seen a resurgence as a sport here in China. I hope we all learned something today. I hope we all got to experience this atmosphere here today. And I'll see you in the next live broadcast. I'm Chengxi in Shanghai. I'll see you in the next one.